The Story of Ishtar by Hannah Shepard. Ishtar was a Babylonian goddess of fertility, love, war, and sex. Ishtar loved Gilgamesh, but he rejected her, which made her furious. She decided to go to the underworld to be reunited with her dead husband Tammuz, who died when he was very young. While in the otherworld, the goddess of the underworld, Irkalla, tried to keep her in the underworld. Because of this, everything stopped on the earth, including the growth of plants and reproduction of the human race. The gods Ea and Shamash noticed this and came down to assist Ishtar out of the underworld. On slide 2, you can see a depiction of Ishtar going into the underworld, and you can also see her symbol, which is the star. Orpheus comes from a Greek myth. Orpheus' wife Eurydice died, so he goes to the underworld to try and get her back. Pluto agrees to his request to get her back as long as he doesn't look back as he departs the underworld. However, he does end up looking back at Eurydice, and he loses her forever. On slide 3, you can see a depiction of when Orpheus looks back at Eurydice and she descends back into the underworld. On slide 3, you can also see a depiction of Orpheus playing his lyre. He was a well-known player and even played for Pluto to help get Eurydice back. These myths have a few similarities. In these stories, there is no happy ending. Orpheus loses Eurydice when he looks back at her, and then he never sees her again. Ishtar also never gets to see Tammuz again because the ruler of the underworld, Irkalla, tries to keep her in the underworld, and while she is there, she never sees him again and leaves the underworld without seeing him. In both stories, there is a ruler of the underworld. For Orpheus, it is Pluto with his queen Persephone. Pluto grants Orpheus his wish to have Eurydice back. In Ishtar's story, it is Irkalla, who takes away Ishtar's powers and tries to keep her in the underworld forever. The third similarity is that Orpheus and Ishtar must both pass a guard to get to the underworld. Orpheus has to pass the ferryman at River Styx, and Ishtar must get past the guard Nagu at 7 gates in order to get the underworld. In slide 4, you can see a depiction of the ferryman at the River Styx that Orpheus had to get past to go to the underworld. And Ishtar also have a few differences. Orpheus is a mortal descending to the underworld, while Ishtar is a goddess. Secondly, Ishtar receives help from the gods Shamash and Ea to return to earth. Orpheus receives no help from the gods in coming back to the earth or getting Eurydice back. Thirdly, Orpheus gets to see Eurydice, while Ishtar never gets to see Tammuz and goes back without seeing him. Also, after leaving the underworld, Orpheus tries to go back to the underworld to see Eurydice again. Ishtar never tries to go back to the underworld. Also, the world is affected when Ishtar is in the underworld. People don't repopulate, and the food stops growing. This doesn't happen when Orpheus is there. It has no effect on the world outside of the underworld. And Orpheus goes to the underworld because his wife died and he is overcome with sadness and wants to get her back. Ishtar goes to the underworld because she gets rejected by Gilgamesh and wants to see her old love, but she doesn't go because of because of the death of Tammuz, she goes to be reunited with him long after the death. On slide 6, you can see some of the gods from 2 cultures. You can see Shamash, the sun god, that helped free Ishtar from the underworld. Next is Pluto, the god of the underworld in Greek mythology. Next to him in the picture is Cerberus, the 3-headed dog that helped guard the underworld. Next is Irkalla, the goddess of the underworld in Babylonia. After that is Ea, the god of wisdom in Babylonia.